everybody. This is Rory Francis, and you're watching another episode of Igniting Manufacturing. We talk about all things manufacturing, workforce development, and reshoring, and bringing manufacturing back to this country and elevating it as a whole. Before we start today, I just want to say we have Mark Barglof with Kinetic Technologies out of Ohio, and
Iowa.
I want to talk. Sorry?
Iowa.
I'm sorry, that's my Yankee New York accent, actually. I thought that's what I said. Well, I want to start with, I spent my summer in China at a lot of manufacturing facilities, and the one thing I particularly paid attention to was the use of robotics. And last year, worldwide, we implemented our 4th million robotic system worldwide, globally. And last year, 53% of the robots deployed by manufacturing were deployed in China. And something new, where they were buying them predominantly from Japan and Germany, they actually produce 44% of their own robots. So here we are. No news flash to anybody. Manufacturing has been reshoring for numerous years, and that's only been exacerbated by the CHIPS Act and IRA. Manufacturing is coming back. And for these facilities to be successful, we need to be able to compete with Asian markets, and particularly China. If they're deploying robots, we have to deploy robots, and we probably need to be a little bit better and optimize. So when I talk with companies that are in the robot sector, and they're actually making, and correct me, Mark, if I'm wrong, your product is made here in the U.S., right?
That's correct.
So we have products and robots being made in the U.S. and deployed here. That is a really, really good thing, and we need to get really, really good at it. We need to get good at it fast. So again, Mark, you're with Kinetic Technology, and you are the founder, correct?
Yes, yep, the owner.
And you're not that old of a company. When did you open your doors?
4 years ago, 2021. So we were coming off post-pandemic and focused on, at first we focused predominantly on engineering prototyping, which naturally, or maybe I'm not, I don't know, it just one thing led to another, and we started to get into the space of robotics. And so now that's what we focus on predominantly, just like you said, industrial manufacturing, specifically in welding.
Okay. Well, robots are the future, and the future is here. So you gave us a little bit of the why. So what do you actually do? And I think we talked a little, you're kind of an integrator. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we like to call ourselves solutions providers. So what we do is we work with companies across the United States, and we work with them on challenges that they have in manufacturing. So we'll look at the parts, we look at the process, we do some upfront design, then we'll conduct some simulation, and we look at how can we optimize or improve the problems that they're currently facing. A lot of them go back to labor challenges. So, and a good solution for that is robotic automation. And we have been doing quite a bit of that recently. Okay. And like you said, it is all, I'm a veteran. Everything made at Kinetic, everything is sourced in the United States as much as possible. So all of our primary suppliers are US based, and everything that we build is built in the United States. I also only represent companies, predominantly companies in robotics, that manufacture here in the United States as well.
Okay, glad to hear that. At the end of the day, and we talked a little bit, and I brought up China and competition and global competition, not just China. We're competing in a global market. You mentioned the word optimization, and we do have a huge labor force deficiency here. 3.8 million by 2030 is a number that's banded around very commonly, and robots are part of the solution there. But optimization is so critical, and that's where And I can tell you from my experience in China, they're good. They're really good. But I saw some opportunity for us. I think we can be better. I have lived and worked all around the world in manufacturing facilities, and I'll be honest with you, I'll hold the American worker up to anybody and the quality of work to anybody. And I think that's where we need to focus on. We need to focus on building better, faster, and optimizing our interests. And sounds a little, that's a big piece of what you do. What's the biggest problem or most common problem that you see with manufacturers that they struggle with that you help them with?
Yes, like I said, we focus on welding automation. I just read a statistic today that by I think it's in the next several years, we're going to be short 370,000 welders in the United States. And so that's definitely one of the first challenges, is just a workforce challenge. We're not producing. I think it said we needed to produce something on the order of 87,000 new welders, and there's 159,000 that are leaving the workforce. They're retiring out. So we're just not replenishing welders as they leave, and the demand continues to increase. So that's usually one of the areas. But interestingly enough, what I'm seeing as well is in the market of welding, we're looking at what happened in CNC manufacturing or CNC machining several years ago, and that quality and repeatability, and really, like you said, Rory, process optimization. They're looking to produce more volume at a lower cost. And that's not simply to drive profit up, it's to meet demand, and the reshoring efforts that we're doing, the nationalistic movement towards US-based manufacturing is increasing demand, and manufacturers are just trying to meet that demand as best they can. And I also want to say, I agree wholeheartedly with your impression of US manufacturing. We're blessed to have amazing people. We care deeply, and what we see is that every client that we engage with, they are really looking out for their customers and looking out for the best interest of their employees and their manufacturing facilities.
So speaking of clients, and I talked briefly before, really what sectors of industry are you kind of the most involved in with?
Well, so I would say we dabble in almost all sectors when you go across the U.S. manufacturing. So we do everything from picnic benches to what's really interesting is emerging markets. So semiconductor component or manufacturing components. So we're assisting in that. We're seeing AI data center things that to help with coolant systems. But we're seeing a really interesting emergence of new markets that you wouldn't traditionally think of, or that didn't exist in the last couple of years. And also we work with the aerospace industry, so kind of specialize in everything around welding, but we deal a lot with emerging markets and more precision welding systems.
Okay, all right. Great stuff. You're in great sectors. I mean, aeronautics is just really growing, and semiconductors iterating so fast. There's such a need for it. And then when you talked about AI data centers and some of the cooling systems. We're talking about billions, hundreds of billions of dollars being invested by Meta and the Stargate project, and the data center. What people don't realize, we were short data centers years ago, and we were kind of behind the eight ball and needed to get going on it. AI has just exacerbated that. And here's a weird thing. Well, it's not weird, it's a kind of cool thing. As we build these data centers and these AI data centers, we actually need more chips. We need more chip factories. So it's a very symbiotic relationship, and there's great growth there.
Yeah,
Here's one thing.
Yeah, and I find it actually quite interesting on how much is tied to AI data centers that you wouldn't think of. So we've actually worked on several different facets, one of them being coolant systems, another one being the backup generators. So there's an entire infrastructure built around AI, machine learning, data centers, those types of things that the normal person wouldn't normally think of, but it's really driving a brand new sector in American manufacturing.
Well, I talked about a little while ago, and several forums since then. When you walk in a room and you touch a light switch and you go turn on things around your house, people don't realize how much manufacturing touches their daily life. And every time, and when we go back to data, so manufacturing affects all of us more so than people. We take it for granted. You throw on the light switch, the lights come on. Well, there's wiring, there's the plastic shield, there's the actual switch, there's all that process to get the power to have. That's all manufacturing. If you can't eat it or grow it, it's pretty much manufactured. And in the AI sector, every time you take a picture and load it up to Instagram or Facebook, or you create a Word document, Excel spreadsheet, you're creating data that needs to go somewhere. And the AI is, like I said, here's a number that's been around and it keeps changing. You write something or do a Google search, it uses X amount of power. If you use AI, ChatGPT or one of the other AI platforms, it goes deeper and creates a greater algorithm, and it uses 8.1% of the power and takes up 8.1 to 10% more data space. So we're creating a greater need, and we need to rise up, and a lot of big portion of the solution is robotics. So you're in a pretty good sector, Mark, and I want to keep in touch and see how your firm grows. Little last bit of tidbit of information: 87% of manufacturers in the United States have less than 100 employees, and 50% have less than 20. So it's our small manufacturers are actually the largest section of the manufacturing space, and they tend to be mom and pop, family owned, and they tend to have deeper roots to the community, which I really, really love. And that's something, it's new to me. I just kind of found out. So I love firms like yours, Mark. I wish you the best. And I look forward to watching your progress. I'd like to thank you for being on. And with that, we're going to say goodbye. This is Rory Francis, and you just watched another exciting episode of Igniting American Manufacturing.